not judging yourself, running a 4-minute, 6-minute, 8-minute kilometer, right? Like it doesn't matter, you're running, right? Irrespective of your pace, irrespective of any of that, you're running.
Thanks for tuning in. I'm Ben Kaplan, the editor of iRun Magazine, and I am super stoked to share with you this morning. We have John Shep on the line.
Thanks, Ben. So yeah, my name's John Shep, and with Athletics Ontario, we're launching the Trillium Running Podcast. So this is a podcast for runners, for beginning runners, for avid runners, and everything in between. So the hope with the podcast is that we're able to share some of the Ontario community of the road and trail world with the larger community. And one of the big goals for us is not just to explore the community that we have, but also explore the community that we've not yet reached.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I know with COVID that it's been that there's so many new people getting into our sport. And if we can just keep them in our sport and make them fall in love with the sport, like our listeners and like you and I have, I mean, that's such a net positive to the world.
Well, and I mean, I've been a runner for 15 years. I started on a treadmill and went to the roads and went through the progression of, okay, I did a 5K, then I'm never going to do and then I did a 10K, and then I'm never going to do and so now I'm slated to do a series of ultra marathons this year. I finished my first 100-miler last year. So it's, it's the community that keeps me coming back. And so one of the goals with the podcast for Athletics Ontario and myself was building that community, not necessarily just with the new runners, because you're absolutely right. COVID, for all its downfalls, has bolstered the running community with lots of new runners, but then also thinking about the individuals we're not speaking to. So thinking about the Black, Indigenous, people of color, those runners, the LGBTQ plus runners, the single parents. I've heard the refrain, running's for anybody. You just have to get a pair of shoes. And I have a great privilege I have a privileged life in order to be able to run in a street and not have to worry about safety issues, or I can run it. I've run at 3 a.m. and I don't have that worry because of the privilege that I have. And so I want to be able to leverage that. Athletics Ontario wants to be able to leverage that to invite the people for whom they're on the outside of that community. And so some of the guests we're planning to bring on, yes, we have the 2-time Olympian Reid Coolsaet, and he's going to be our first guest, and it's an awesome interview. And we're going to have race directors from the road and the trail community, whether it's Jeff Rowthorne from Happy Trails Racing, or Run Ottawa, or the Canadian Running Series, but then also looking at who are the influencers who are supporting Black and Indigenous runners? Who are the influencers that are building the LGBTQ plus community? Who are those that are doing work for women runners and safety and health for women runners? And so a lot of those pieces are going to be instrumental to the podcast, because again, I love the running community. It keeps me coming back, and I want to be able to share that with everybody. I truly want to use this podcast as a platform so that all runners are able to engage in the community.
You guys hearing this, everybody watching? Like, how can you not listen to this man's podcast? I mean, what a cool, hey, everything you're saying right now just sounds like, the community needs it. It's awesome. Good luck to you. iRun is here. We're happy to support. We'll promote it, and we encourage all of our people to listen to it. Awesome, man. We wish you Godspeed. And
well, I appreciate it. And so the podcast is going to drop. We're doing it once weekly, every Thursday. So it's going to drop Thursday morning in time for whether you're doing your tempo run Thursday morning, your long run, as I do, Friday night, because again, a couple of kids, right? I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And so for me, Friday nights are easier to run than Saturday mornings. I can be dad on the weekends. And
what's the link? How do we find it?
So it's on the Ontario Athletics Ontario Road and Trail podcast. It'll be linked in the iRun Instagram page. You can go to Athletics Ontario's Instagram page. So that's at Athletics ONT. But then also it'll be on all of your platforms. So Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and that's the Trillium Running Podcast presented by Athletics Ontario.
I know one of the cool things about your show is you're going to have a strides questionnaire, which is sort of like asking quick hits, and you're going to be doing this with all of your guests, and we love this. Let me do this, and if you don't mind me being the questionnaire of you.
Absolutely. Let's give it a shot.
What does running mean to you?
Peace of mind. It gives me space between the feelings that I have and the actions that I have. And so I'm not a meditator, but it does provide me that space that meditation or that mindfulness would provide. And so I can be a better dad. I can be a better boss. I can be a better partner. I can be a better person. It makes me a more me version of me. So I'd say running means peace of mind.
Love that. What's your favorite race in Ontario, or else just your favorite place in Ontario to run if you don't want to pick a winner?
Oh, yeah, I can't play favorites. I definitely have some favorite runs that I've done. I'd almost say that the favorite race is the one that I haven't done yet. There's some spectacular races in Ontario that have started up as a result of during the pandemic that I've been looking forward to doing, whether that's some of the Happy Trails racing out in Waterloo, the Enduro run. I've been waiting for a couple of years to do that. And so, yeah, there's some awesome races, but there's one trail. So my kids call it the Gobi Trail out of respect for the Finding Gobi book, which they absolutely love all versions of. And it's nothing too complicated, but in York Region, we've got some amazing trails. They're not the most technical, but they are peaceful. And so the Gobi Trail gives me some of that peace of mind.
What's the best book you've recently read?
Oh, so I am definitely a reader. I put this question in the podcast because I love talking to people about books, and it reveals certain things. I think one of the best books I've read recently was an oldie but a goodie, is one of the James Bond books. So my dad and I, that's what we connected on. So I've kind of been milking the Ian Fleming James Bond books, waiting and taking one at a time, just savoring it. So I sort of one a year. So it was one of the old James Bond books. Yeah.
And what's your best advice to a new runner?
Go at your own pace.
Nice.
I was extremely fortunate that I worked sports marketing for 15 years, part-time. I did it with Ironman Canada and Timex Canada, multi-sport in the triathlon world, and got to meet some amazing people. But when I got to the trails, I lost my watch and realized that it connected me with how I felt, and the paces, and I mean, at a really technical point of view, it's the rate of perceived exertion, right? You work based on RPE or based on what your zones are, heart rate, things like that, as opposed to the pace on your watch. And I think that's really beneficial, and not judging yourself for like, oh, I'm only running a 5K. I'm only like, I'm running a 4 minute, 6 minute, 8 minute kilometer, right? Like it doesn't matter. You're running, right? Irrespective of your pace, irrespective of any of that, you're running, and you are gaining the physical and mental health benefits that running provides, the community that running provides. Like, you are not going to not be included in this community just because you're a slower runner or you're a runner of a different ability. That's the part of the community that I love and want to expand upon.
You're a good man. I appreciate your time. Everybody check out his podcast. Last question. I mean, look at this guy. It's going to imbue you with positivity. It'd make you love our sport as we do. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you do as well. Last thing, man, take us out. What's one good thing about your day today?
Oh, one good thing. So I left early this morning to go for a run. Again, had to clear my head. It's been a tough couple of days at work, and total honest truth. And so again, needed that distance that running provides. So my wife texted me, my son, saying, hi, Dada. And just something simple, right? But it's just those words, they just fill you. And I was able to appreciate that today.
Check out the podcast.
So Athletics Ontario's Trillium Running Podcast.
Athletics Ontario Trillium Running Podcast. Listen to it. It'll make your life better.
Every Thursday, Trillium Running Podcast. You can find it at Athletics ONT on Instagram.
Peace.
Thanks so much, Ben. iRun is proud to partner with Athletics Ontario and the Trillium Running Podcast. To connect and read about the everyday runner, follow iRun on Instagram at iRunNation. Athletics Ontario's mission is to promote the sport of athletics in Ontario and contribute to the health and wellness of all participants through long-term, athlete-centered development. For all races, programs, events, and more, follow at Athletics ONT on Instagram.